My name is Anthony.
How's all right? How's your day?
Good, good, good. Not bad, not bad. Do you happen to have the equipment with you there, or did the guys take it?
No, I have it right here.
Excellent. All right, so we'll just kind of basically we'll go over what I went through with the guys this morning. Basic leak detection procedure. We'll go over that leak detection procedure. We'll go over the functions on the box, what the dials mean, what you're going to need to get up and going and get comfortable with the equipment for you when you do your leak detections. So if you're started, we'll go ahead and get started. So if you notice on the amplifier box, you have the same amplifier box as us. This is the same leak detector we use on site. Goldak is the only manufacturer of locating equipment that uses it in the field. We've got 5 guys that go out every day, and this is exactly what they use on jobs anywhere, everything from residential leak detections to commercial leak detections. So we'll start with the controls on the box. In your top left corner is your amplifier gain. It's basically your volume control. In the top right corner is your meter sensitivity. What that does, it controls the reaction of the meter. And then in the bottom left corner is your off position, fast meter, slow meter. And then on that last position is your battery test. Always make sure the batteries are good in this amplifier box. The sound quality really diminishes once that needle gets into the yellow. So if you're able to flip that all the way over to battery test right now, it should be in the green, or at least above 90. Oh, good. This box is run off of 6 AA batteries. So when it's time to change them, it's very easy. The 4 screws you see on that top face plate, undo the screws, you lift it by the silver handle, and then you'll see a 6-pack of AA batteries. Replace all 6, and then your batteries are good. And like I said, the sound quality really diminishes once it gets into the yellow, so always keep them in the green. The bottom right corner is your frequency filter. Now imagine when it's on high, your filter is wide open. So if you are in a loud environment, you're doing maybe a leak detection for an older couple, the TV's up a little extra loud or the radio's playing a little extra loud, pets running around the house, or sometimes infants are running around. So when it's on high, imagine you're going to pick up all that extra noise because the filter is wide open. So as you go lower on that spectrum, it narrows the bandwidth and it narrows the hearing. So on low, it's really narrow and it helps eliminate some of that ambient noise that you don't want to hear. Now this is going to be strictly up to you. You don't always have to have it on low. You don't have to have it on high. It's just if you're in a loud environment, just know that the closer you go towards low, it's going to help eliminate some of that outside noise. So you need a second?
No, Leo, kind of turn the screen off on me.
Can you still see me, or are you just hearing me?
No, I see you.
Okay. So, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay.
Well, you're kind of stuck.
So.
Yeah, you're stuck in the same position.
Yeah, so are you. You have been. I know. So, on your amplifier box, if you're looking at it, there's no right or wrong way to set this box. Everyone's hearing is different, so you're going to have it set to your own liking. You'll fall into a pretty good groove on where you like it. I tell everyone just start with the amplifier gain between 4 and 5, and I tell them to start with their meter sensitivity between 4 and 5. On the on-off, the fast meter, slow meter, there's really no difference. The needle movement is so slight that you won't even be able to tell if it's in fast or slow mode. Um, Step one of leak detection, you go into a home, the first thing you want to do is listen on everything that has water passing through it. Your angle stops, your hot and cold valves, your shower valves, your washing machine, water heater, everything that has water passing through it you want to listen to. The reason why we do this is because two fixtures are going to be making more noise than any other two in the home. Your leak in theory is in between those two loud points. So if
Now,
you're, go ahead.
My brother, I've seen this machine being used a few times.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I've used it myself once.
Okay.
My biggest question is, once I find the two loudest points and once I find the manifold, how do I narrow it down? Because sometimes, obviously, sometimes you're going to have, your sink is going to have 3 or 4 loud spots. In reality, you're only trying to sense it down to 2 of them. Would I just set up the sensitivity more or less and then watch the needle at that point?
You're talking about when you're actually trying to find the leak, when you've already established your 2 loud points, you've established your section of pipe that's leaking. Now you're taking the microphone and you're taking direct readings on the ground. From there, is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm trying to talk about where you can find the 2 loudest points.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So yeah, so on your meter, you are definitely going to have 2 loudest readings. If a common mistake people make, and maybe you've made the same problem, once you've set your box to where you've set it to, and let's take for an example, it's a small leak. So you listen to half the house inside, and then you realize it's a small leak, so you turn the volume up, or you do add meter sensitivity. Nowhere in the rule book does it say you cannot do that. Just make sure you go back and listen to what you've already listened to at the same settings, at the new settings, because you want to even test. You want everything to read at the same. You should have 2 distinct fixtures that are making the most noise. You should be able to say, this fixture, and I'm just using this as an example, is reading at a 60, and then let's assume it was the hot side in the master bedroom, and then I took my second loudest spot was on the hot side in the kitchen, and it was a 55. Everything else is below that. You're going to have 2 distinct loud noises. That's what you're listening for. If everything is pegging out at 100, well, you're going to have to turn the volume down, or you're going to have to decrease the meter sensitivity. But you should be able to get 2 distinct loud points. That's what you're listening for. Your leak is in between those 2 loud points, without a doubt. That's why you're taking all those readings. And you should be able to definitely say, okay, you take a mental note. Okay, so far my loudest spot is this 50 in the kitchen on the hot side. I listen on the cold side. It's really close to that 50, but it's only a 47 or it's a 45. I keep working my way. I listen in a hallway bathroom. I listen on the hot and the cold, the angle stops, shower valve, no noise at all. So you keep moving on. Then you come across to the master bath. You listen behind the toilet, angle stops, nothing. Shower valve, you listen on the hot under the sink, and you just hear, and that one's a 65. You listen on the cold side, and it maybe only reaches, 48.
Well, it's a hot side leak.
Absolutely. So you're going to have 2 distinct loud spots. That's what you listen. That's step number 1. If you're able to, and we do this, not only to find the 2 loud spots, but by being thorough and by listening on everything, you're going to catch a lot of the non-pressurized leaks, all the drippy faucets, the leaky angle stops, all that stuff has to be tightened up and repaired before you can find your underground leak anyway. And you'll be surprised too. At Goldak, we do 3 tests. We do a meter test, a pressure test, and an electronic test. So we get to the site. one of the very first things we do is we find the meter out by the curb, pop the meter. Every meter nowadays has that little triangle that's a leak detector. If they're losing water, that little triangle is spinning. Good indication that they have an underground leak. The second test, we'll hook up a pressure gauge to an outside hose bib. You get a drop in pressure, they have a leak. The third test being the electronic test. That's the physical, going in, exploring the home, listening on all the stuff that's got water passing through it, trying to find my 2 loud points. But like I said, if you come across a couple, maybe you check that meter and the meter's not spinning at all. The customer called you up because there's not necessarily a hot spot on the floor, there's no water surfacing indoors, they got their water bill and it's triple what it usually is, this billing cycle, so they fear they have a leak. But it could be that drippy toilet, that angle stop, that running toilet, that drippy faucet. All that stuff is going to cause meter movement and is going to cost the customer money. That's that with that meter spinning and them losing water that way, the water company is going to bill them, and then they're getting billed for it. So all that stuff has to be tightened up and repaired before you can find your leak anyway. So be thorough. Even if you have a hot spot downstairs and you have a 2-story home, listen on everything, just so you can kind of start eliminating places. You can start fixing all that little stuff that has to be fixed. Maybe the meter was spinning and it was a couple drippy faucets and a drippy angle stop or a running toilet. All that stuff is going to cause meter movement. So as soon as you tighten all that stuff up, you go back, check that meter, and it stops. You've just potentially saved yourself an hour and a half, 2 hours of frustration trying to hunt down a leak that's not even a pressurized, not an underground leak.
Let me ask you a question. To save some time, obviously the first thing I'm going to do when I get that call is check the meter movement. If the meter's spinning, the next thing I'm going to do is shut the ball valve off and figure out if it's inside or outside. After that, once I figure out if the leak is in the house, couldn't I just turn the water heater off, wait a few minutes, turn it back on? Because that's going to tell me if it's a hot or cold side leak, and that's when I can simplify it and go down to all the angle stops, shower valves, and you know what.
Yeah.
To figure out what the hot side is actually leaking.
You can. Absolutely, you can. But just know that you're going to have to find that section of pipe that's leaking anyway. So even when you do cut it down to the hot side or the cold side, you're still going around and getting your 2 loud spots to figure out what section of pipe is leaking.
Right. And at that point, that's all I would really need. And
right.
That's when I can cut the wall, cut the manifold and see what lines, leaking water. And then I really wouldn't have to pinpoint the leak on the floor, because at that point I just reroute the line. Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. No, absolutely correct. And that's fine, because when we did the morning class, I started going into the pipe tracer, and Leo was like, we didn't even buy the pipe tracer. Everything that we're going to do mostly is just 90% going to be reroute. So I just need to figure out what section of pipe is leaking. As soon as I can figure out what section is leaking, we're just going to cut and reroute anyway. So absolutely.
Like I said, I've seen the system being used. I actually figured out what system you guys had. And that being said, though, I just want a little, run through real quick of how I would start the whole electronic leak detection.
Yeah.
Which you kind of answered that, because if I start at the same setting, then, obviously I don't switch to the settings until I test everything. And at that point, where I see my needle move the highest, where I hear it the highest, then I can start, back tracing and then set the gain a little lower, or I would set it lower, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because you're going to want to narrow it down to a much smaller area. And it depends on the size of the leak too, to be honest with you. If you've got a small pinhole leak, you may need to keep the volume up or the meter sensitivity up, just so you can kind of, like on this amplifier box that you guys bought, it has that max mode. So when you're listening and doing like your pre-leak test, as we like to call it, when you're just listening on your fixtures, keep it in standard mode. If you do got a small pinhole leak, when you're actually trying to pinpoint the leak, then go ahead and switch it to that max mode, and it's going to increase the sensitivity. So you can sometimes get away with lowering it, and by adding that max, you're going to be able to still hear the sound of the leak, even though you're lowering the volume in that max mode.
Frequency or the actual amplifier gain?
The amplifier gain.
Yeah.
Because the frequency, like I said, the frequency filter, it's going to help you can lower it as well, but just know that if it is an indoor slab leak, you're 6 to 8 inches under the slab. It's not very deep.
Here's the problem I foresee with that. If I lower that frequency rating, let's say if I ask the customer to turn everything off and be quiet, and they don't listen, obviously, and at that point, I can't really, because I've been with my brother where they've had a small, tiny pinhole leak, and it was almost impossible to hear that thing. And what he actually had to do was ask the customer basically to step outside because, they run the water, they wouldn't run the water, but they turn the TV on, and, you hear everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not uncommon as well if you find yourself in a kitchen to unplug the refrigerator.
Right. And then also, when there's noise, obviously that needle is going to bounce back and forth because it's picking up that noise.
Absolutely.
So when you're doing it, me personally speaking, I'd rather have it quiet as heck so I can, until I get the system figured out more,
Absolutely. And again, it's just a preference. Of the 5 brothers, 3 of them still do service work, and the oldest brother loves it low. He just likes to walk an area and not hear anything until he thinks he's come across his leak, and that's what that low offers. It's just going to help eliminate everything and really just concentrate on where you set this microphone down and listening underneath you. The lower you go. Because on high, it's just wide open. You're going to hear the TV, you're going to hear the radio, you're going to hear the kid in the background screaming at the Xbox. You're going to hear everything. You're going to hear everything. Apartment buildings, forget about it. You'll hear someone on the phone 2 apartments down. So the higher it is, the sensitivity is great, but sometimes people just don't like that extra noise.
Right.
Robert, the other brother, he likes it on high because he likes to compare noises. He's like, that's not my leak, that's not my leak. Oh, this is my leak right here. Now, that doesn't come into play when you're listening to someone chat, 2 rooms across or a TV or something, but he just likes those comparative noises with it in high. And it's just a preference. There's no right or wrong way to set this box. As human beings, we all have analog hearing. That's why Goldak has and always will manufacture an analog leak detector. A leak that's shooting up or to the side or down at an angle, you're going to hear 3 different noises. And the more leak detections you do, the more accustomed you're going to come to those different sounds that the leak is making. You do this long enough, you're going to be able to, before you make that hole to do that repair, you're going to know if that leak is shooting up or to the side or down at an angle, just by the way the sound is and what you're listening to. So it's just a matter of preference. Don't let anyone ever tell you, oh my gosh, why do you have your meter sensitivity up or why do you have your frequency filter low? It's all what you're accustomed to and what you're comfortable with.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that asked all the questions I have.
All right.
My main thing was okay, how do I set this up because I forgot the process.
Right.
And setting the meter sensitivity and the amplifier being at the same level makes sense. It's just common sense at that point. And you go through the whole house, and after you're done with that, then you can level it down and start really figuring out what
right. And now remember and I say this only because you mentioned it, your amplifier gain, if it's on 6, your meter sensitivity doesn't have to be at 6. They don't have to be the same. What I was saying by that is when you're trying to find your 2 loud spots, if you have it set however you like set, at 7 on the meter sensitivity and 4 on your amplifier gain. At some point midway through, you've listened to half the house, and then at some point you turn the volume up or you switch the meter sensitivity. Make sure you go back and listen to what you've already listened to at the same setting, at the new setting, I should say.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah,
so
I remember, like I said, my brother used it, and then what he did was he set the meter sensitivity down, and then he would go back to the spots that he think it was leaking. He would check the hot side, and it would let sides down on 40, and then the meter on 40, and then let's say the cold side, which usually cold doesn't leak, but let's say the cold side it jumps up to 60. Well, at that point, you know what side is leaking.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then when you're listening on the ground and you're actually trying to pinpoint your leak, you can go ahead and play with this, the amplifier gain and the meter sensitivity and really the filter. You can play with it as much as you want to get locked in and dialed in. It's just in that pre-leak test where we like to have everything read at the same level, whether it's however you have it set.
Did you go over it with the guys if these customers, let's say, have a leaky faucet or something, that they have to get that fixed? Otherwise, we won't be able to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was,
Right.
yeah, they know that. We covered that this morning.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
All right.
Well, hey, thanks for your time. I appreciate it, Anthony. And if I have any questions, I'll
Call us. If I'm not here, Robert's here, Chris is here. I was telling the guys earlier, Robert FaceTimed a guy via FaceTime, Apple to iPhone to iPhone, and helped a guy out on a job and helped him pinpoint a leak. It was pretty incredible. So, absolutely, we're here for you. No problem.
Awesome. Thanks, my friend. Have a great day, okay?
All right, you too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.